Welcome to the next episode of WaterparkRangers Let's Play Wind Waker. Last episode, we flew around the Forest Haven, getting all the stuff that we could with our newfound item, the Deku Leaf, and then we proceeded to fly with it over to the second dungeon of the game, the Forbidden Woods. We're just starting off this dungeon right here by getting the dungeon map. As you might remember from the Dragon Roost Island Forsaken Fortress, that lets you see the dungeon in its entirety. But anyway, as you can see, it's actually the tallest dungeon so far, by far, at like 5 or 6 floors. And I think it might actually be the tallest in the game. I'm not certain about that, because there is a dungeon later on that has an incredibly tall central room. But because this one really doesn't have as tall a central room, but is split up into so many floors, it might actually be the tallest. But never mind that, right now we have many choo-choos to take care of. And as you see, there's the warp jar in the beginning of the room. That you might remember, Dragon Roost Cavern had one in like the first room as well. Okay, one of the gimmicks in this dungeon involves picking up these giant boko nuts and throwing them at the flowers that cover things like the flower that was covering that door. The reason you need to use boko nuts is because if you try to get up close to the flower and hit it with your sword, it'll shield itself. And strangely, the grappling hook doesn't work on it, which would seem like an ideal thing, really. It's got a hook on the end, you can throw it. But yeah, boko nuts are really the only way to stop them. Oh wait, there is one more, and you're going to see that here. First off, let's just use the spin attack to get rid of these guys. Like so. That always feels so satisfying to get that right. Anyway, you can cut the vines from around it, but it doesn't really matter, because as you can see, they'll grow back pretty quickly, unless you take care of the core flower in the center. So we will use the Deku Leaf to knock that guy over. And on a side note, you can use the Deku Leaf to shoot gusts, and it blows away things like piles of leaves, and as you can see, there's a fairy under that one. It can also stun these guys and instantly get their stalks upright so you can cut them for their boko stick. Now, the reason you want to do that is because in order to get this treasure chest, which is optional, but I highly recommend getting it, is you need to light it on fire, aim, and throw to hit the flower in the center. Whoa, that was nice. Actually, that's not an easy throw to make. I know I made it look really easy by doing it in one try, but it really takes a good aim to do that. So it's kind of annoying, because you can't really lock on to those flowers, I don't think. Anyway, as you saw there, the treasure inside was a night crest. We got one back in Dragon Roost Cavern, so this is our second one. Orca wants us to find 10 of them, and then he'll tell us about what they are. Now, what I'm going to attempt to do here is just look around this house for a little while, because on one of my older playthroughs, maybe even the first time I played through this game, I remember an NPC in the Forest Haven saying, if you run into trouble in the Forbidden Woods, look for our stump-shaped houses. So I'm checking around to see if there's actually anything hidden here besides, you know, the Knight's Crest that we just got. There doesn't appear to be, so maybe that's just one of those NPC lines of dialogue that was originally used to refer to something that maybe didn't make the final cut of the game. Just an interesting note. Anyway, we got to get back to the main road of this dungeon. So, as you can probably figure out, we just got to use these flowers to get higher and higher in the room. And of course, don't touch those giant wiggling thorns, because they'll knock you out of the air. And they hurt so much, apparently, when you get hit by them, that Link won't be able to recover by using the Deku Leaf to break his fall. So he'll fall all the way down if you get hit by one of those. It's like getting hit by gravity or something, if that makes any sense. Oh yeah, that was nice. The bomb flower can be used to dispatch these guys pretty easily. And we also got to use it to get rid of the flower that's blocking the door. So we'll set it down. Maybe I should have thrown it. Yeah, I guess we walked right at just the right moment because it seemed to work pretty well. The reason this room looks a little bit darker, I'd say, is because actually it's outside, as you can see. There's the dark sky up there. Interestingly, kind of like other dungeons in this game that have outdoor segments, depending on if you go in for day or night, that also corresponds to how these sections will look. Personally, I think this place looks cooler if you come in at night. It all depends on how quickly you're getting across that south line of islands past Dragon Roost. Anyway, that enemy you saw there was a Peahat. We encountered them last episode right before we entered the woods. As you can see, you can grapple golden feathers from them. And the efficient way to stop them is to use the Deku Leaf to stop their propeller and then go in with your sword. Strangely enough, your sword won't be able to harm them unless you stop their propeller, so just keep that in mind. So as you can see, the Deku Leaf is really working wonders on these guys. You don't actually need to get one of those boko sticks and bring it to where we're going, we're going to use something else. But before we do that, wow, there's a lot of befores in this dungeon. Jump off here and use your Deku Leaf right before there, and then fall in. And I think you can get a red rupee from this chest. I remember finding this just by accident one time, completely coincidence, and I thought I was the only one who knew about it. But as long as you find the compass in this dungeon, you know it's pretty obvious that there's something hidden there. Come to think of it, I think Sugar Conroy pointed that out in his LP. Anyway, here we are going to use the propeller thing once again from the other room to bring the platform to us. We'll just wait for it, and then we can jump to it. And you don't have to hit the propellers to move it. Once you're on top of the platform, then you can use the Deku Leaf to just manually push it in either direction. That can kind of be confusing if you're playing this for the first time, but when you think about it, using the strange physics of this game, it actually kind of makes sense in the context. So now it takes a little bit more force to bring both us and the Bokonut across. It's not easy to jump with it. Sometimes I'd recommend that you throw it first, just so you don't mess up and have to do it all over again. But yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You have to bring the Bokonut over to break the flower. Now, in order to get this one, you got to use the Deku Leaf to blow it out of the center. Otherwise, you're just going to get knocked back by the thorns. This room is also kind of dark because there are some breaks in the wall that show that it's not outside. There's a lot of attention to detail put into this game, like even in just the obligatory forest dungeon. Come to think of it, Twilight Princess is a really nice forest dungeon. I don't know, some people are kind of harsh on Twilight Princess. Personally, I like the Wind Waker more, probably just for nostalgia reasons. But Twilight Princess does a lot of stuff right. Anyway, here we will use the grappling hook to get across here. It's interesting because, like, there aren't that many uses of the grappling hook throughout the game for really swinging around. You'll see what I mean later once we start using it more at sea. So here we need the Bokonut, once again. Who would have thunk it? First let's just gather these rupees, because believe it or not, we won't be able to collect them soon, so I kind of feel like we might as well get them. Whoa, that was close. Okay, we'll break the flower there. Oh, that was close too, man. I guess I'm just timing everything perfectly in this dungeon. Yeah, these weird things just move up and down. Up here, believe it or not, is the second warp pot hidden underneath that pile of leaves. Yeah, strangely, a pile of leaves stop you from going through a warp pot that can propel you in the air. Like, see what I mean? If you try to enter it from the first pot in the room, it won't let you. It'll just shoot you back out, just because a couple of leaves are blocking it. I guess they're Ganon's evil magic leaves. Okay, these pine cones are more dangerous than they appear. Because down in this ditch, there are a bunch of these little things called morphs. They don't hurt you, but they can grab onto you and slow you down. As long as we're here, might as well pick up the yellow rupees. That's the only reason to ever jump down here. They might seem cute, but they are really just so annoying. And they spring out of those pine cones over there, as you can see, too. So the key to getting them off is to use a spin attack. And then... this is so annoying. Yeah, you can jump, too. It doesn't really do much, though. They're quite infuriating. They'll even follow you from room to room. The Link runs at normal speed when he's going through the door, of course. I love how stuff like that works. There's something like that at the end of Twilight Princess, where there's a cutscene that shows Link running up a hill. Not that it's a big spoiler or anything. And if you equip the iron boots before that cutscene, then Link will still be running with the iron boots on. He sounds like the Terminator. Like slamming the earth with every step. Anyway, this item here, I believe, is the compass in this dungeon. So we can find other treasure chests with it. As you noticed while I was talking about Twilight Princess when I should have been talking about Wind Waker, which is this game, there was another treasure chest in this room, and it was behind that other wooden post that we destroyed with the bomb flower by throwing from afar to blow it up. Now you just gotta run through the maze of vines. I know my way a little bit better probably than most because I've played this game quite a few times. But as long as you walk carefully and don't go too quickly in any direction, then you'll be fine. You won't get hit by the vines. And I think they only do like a quarter heart of damage anyway, like most things in the game. So here's a small key. That'll help us because there is a locked door back in that big main room with a giant hanging flower thing that we got the rubies out of. Before we leave this room, it's important just to gather what we can from these little pots. I think one of them actually has a joy pendant, so it's worth your while just to check them out as long as you're in this room. Because there's really no reason to come back here later. Although with the Tingle Tuner, there is extra stuff in dungeons, but I think I've covered pretty much a good amount of it so far. Anyway, we're coming down on the end of the episode, so after we leave this room, I guess we'll call it quits for now. And we'll continue with this dungeon next episode. See you then.